Welcome back. And Housing Justice for All is a coalition of over 80 groups leading the charge for housing as a human right. And one of its key partners is Community Action for Safe Apartments, also known as CASA. CASA's work includes organizing tenant associations, running campaigns to prevent displacement, and advocating for city and state policies protecting renters. Joining me now is CASA's leader and tenant and housing advocate, I should say, Fitzroy A. Washington, and or I should say Christian. I'm sorry, Fitzroy A. Christian. I apologize. I said Washington. Thank you, Fitzroy, for joining me.
And thank you for having us with you.
Listen, I thank you for joining us, and amidst everything that's going on politically, socially, economically, a lot of people are really just challenged with the whole issue of affordable living. And so the work that you do and the your organization does is really try to provide for tenants' rights.
Yes. Not only tenants' rights, but their human rights. Because without a home, you don't have the foundation on which your family can rest and build. You're not really a part of a community. And without our community, our neighborhoods, we are left as nomads, just keep bouncing from borough to borough, from apartment to apartment. We are not able to be stable. We are not able to settle so we could start building generational wealth so that our children will inherit what we have worked for and continue um, wealth building generation after generation. So, yes, it is not just simply about housing, though that is a crucial part of it. It is what we as a society is not doing, we are not doing to ensure that we have stable, permanently affordable, not just temporarily affordable housing, so that we could begin to plan our lives as full human beings and begin to make plans for our future, the future of our children and our grandchildren in our own communities that we have built.
And you speak about housing being a human right. When we talk about it, it seems like it's a basic necessity to live, but so many people are denied the right to fair housing, adequate housing. Um, Talk to me from your perspective on how you view housing as that human right.
If we could go back a little bit and think about the United Nations Charter and its Declaration of Human Rights, one of them say that all humans are entitled to certain rights as human beings, and among them being education, health, food, and housing. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, without housing, we don't have the foundation in which to build anything. We can't build family, we can't build community, we can't build nation. Um, so it is a human right, it is a necessity. And the fact that the United States sees housing as a commodity, something to be monetized, something for which a smaller number of people get tremendous wealth, while the mass of people um, have problems living in safe, healthy, um, livable apartments and even homes. Um, it's a major contradiction. And the fact that the United States had, I think it was First Lady Roosevelt, um, as the poster girl holding up the United Nations Charter and the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, and the country does not support it. What they do, and in states like New York, they give you a right to shelter, which is limited. And we are fighting against that. Our hope is to have human in New York State and around the country as a human right, that it is a constitutional right, that it is properly funded so that all of the inequities in housing that we're seeing now will disappear.
Yeah.
And people can begin to live and plan as a family, as a community, for how they're going to be living well into the future.
One of the challenges that's being talked about today, the year 2024, is the repercussions that have happened since COVID. A
Yeah.
lot of evictions happen. A lot of people have been waiting for the moratorium to go away so that way people could be uh, utterly evicted. But there is on the books right now the good cause eviction protections. I want to get your take on, first of all, the law itself, and then share a little bit about. We'll talk a little bit about the work that's being done there with the organization and really wrapping around that.
Okay, I will speak to that question in a second, but I just want to note that the good cause eviction bill does not stand in silo. It is a part of a series of bills that we're pushing in Albany that includes making the right to counsel, which is a major problem right now, a statewide law so that it covers all renters in New York State. And the benefits that we are getting in New York City will be extended to all renters in New York State. It is also connected to the reform of the Rent Guidelines Board, which is a city agency set up by the state to regulate the cost of housing for renters in New York City. That has to be revamped completely. We're also talking about extending the ETPA, the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which allows counties and other municipalities in New York State to opt into the rent stabilization program so that it takes the power away from landlords to jack up the rent to whatever levels they want, but these places become regulated by the state Department of Community and Housing Renewal. Having said that, the Clean Hand Bills is stating that if the landlord's hands are dirty, if they are not maintaining the buildings to the warranty of habitability standards that they are required to do by law, if they're not maintaining the buildings to the state and city building codes as they are entitled to or they're obligated to, they cannot have a right to try to evict a tenant when their hands are dirty. So for them to be able to pursue an eviction case against a tenant, their hands must be clean. The building must be up to the standard of the building codes. There must not be any serious violations in the lodge against those landlords. They have to have clean hands. If they are not meeting the standards set by the laws, then they cannot pursue an eviction case against a tenant who may be behind in rent or who maybe the landlord may be accused frivolously or not of a breach of lease for whatever reason.
As you look right now, what is the state of evictions from your perspective? Are we seeing more and more now?
Yes. And that rests completely in the hands of the Chief Justice of the state of New York, Chief Justice Wilson.
And is
Because of
mhm.
the,
No,
sorry,
good.
let me just
Continue.
quickly
I'm sorry.
this.
I delay in my ear. Go ahead. Keep going.
Mm. Yes, there was a massive increase of cases that got bogged down in the system you know, during the pandemic because of the moratorium that we got and that we keep extending during the heat of the crisis of the pandemic. The courts were closed. There were no cases going forward. So when in June 2022, the last moratorium eventually ended, there were over 200,000 cases that were on the books. In the meantime, while the cases were not moving forward, landlords were still filing cases in court or had the preparations already in place. They were prepared so that the moment the moratorium lifted, they could file their hundreds of thousands of cases that they had prepared during the pandemic. The end result was that there were probably over 400,000 cases in the housing court system. Chief Justice Wilson, he chose to clear his calendar. And in the process, he began to deny tenants who were eligible for right to counsel, a law that was passed in 2017 here in New York City. their rights to that full representation by an attorney in court when they're facing eviction, because his focus, his emphasis was in clearing the backlog. With a simple stroke of the pen, he could order the courts, which comes under his jurisdiction. All courts in New York State come under the jurisdiction of the Office of Court Administration. As a Chief Justice, he could say, we are going to slow down the process to allow all of those people who are eligible for full legal representation in housing court to get the opportunity to get the attorney, and that attorney will be able to represent them, assert the tenants' rights. Um, the fact is that after the law was passed in 2017, in the first year, more than 80% of the people who had representation were able to stay in their homes. Landlords were not able to get everything they were demanding because they were at fault in a lot of the cases. And tenants won. The following years, the pandemic hit us, so we were not able to work it out properly the way we wanted to. But since then, what has happened is the Chief Justice is saying that waiting for tenants to find their lawyers and for all of the paperwork that is involved in filing motions, um, more and more conferences between the courts and the two sides, is delaying the process of clearing up his calendar. And he's not doing that. He wants his calendar cleared. So what we have here is that from last June through now, there were over 20,000 cases that moved forward in the court in the Bronx alone. And I think it was 40 something thousand citywide that was moved along. Many of them included tenants who were eligible for the free legal assistance, but were not given the opportunity to contact their attorneys and have themselves represented. A large number of them were evicted. We're trying to get all the numbers together for end of year. So I don't want to send out preliminary numbers, which may change. But there are tens of thousands of people who were evicted citywide who are eligible for legal assistance. Many of them would not have been evicted if they were given that opportunity.
I want to talk about this. Let me cut it here for because you talk about
Uh,
you talk about there would be this opportunity if they had legal assistance, right? So I
Yep.
want to go to this place of like, first of all, awareness, because I think a lot of tenants don't necessarily know their rights. If you fall behind on your rent, sometimes you feel a little less than. And to be honest with you, so many people are just surviving that they really are not abreast of the rights. So how do you go about making them aware, tenants, of their rights, and then at the same time, doing a better job of how do you go about preventing this displacement right here in the Bronx and beyond?
Okay. There are several ways in which we do that. Um, the Right to Counsel Coalition is based in downtown Manhattan, but we have branches and organizations like CASA, Northwest Bronx, Clergy and Community Coalition. We have Mothers on the Move. We have South Bronx Rising. We all inform our members of it. At CASA, we have workshops and teachings where we let our members know that this right exists. We also have in each of the boroughs, each of the 5 boroughs of the city, what we have court watch, what we call court watch. Our members go out to the courts every morning. We meet tenants on the line and we say, hey, look, this is what is happening. These are your rights. This is what you can do. These are the organizations in your community who have the legal assistance, the organizing capabilities to help you fight your case and keep you in your homes. We have citywide meetings where we plan about the things that we need to do, how we do it, the campaigns that we are going to launch to make sure there's wider public knowledge of these rights, who to contact in their communities. So we do that. We also have our members who go inside the courtrooms. And when we notice that they're being badgered, being intimidated, being really harassed by the landlord's attorneys, we intervene. We will say, can I speak with you a minute, please? Because you're being taken advantage of here, and I'm going to let you know what your rights are and how you can proceed, and how you do not waive your rights or give up anything that you do not need to give up in this case. And we will speak to them, explain to them. Many of them will go back to the landlord's attorney and say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm going before the judge. I'm going to ask for an adjournment and get this resource that I was not aware of, and then we will come back from here. These are some of the strategies we use to spread awareness so that people know they're not really alone, but they have these resources available to them, and they should take advantage of it because it allows them to stay in their home.
Yeah, I'm thinking that when you do this, that's a great reprieve for the tenant, knowing that there's this assistance there and knowing that you've got somebody that can help them throughout due
The
process.
whole process, right?
Yeah, because that process can be a long and a lengthy one. And we all know that, attorneys work, attorneys work to try to get somebody to settle, but that's the benefit of having a community based organization such as yourself to really be able to say, listen, you know what? Don't take the quick road, fight this through.
Yes.
Let me get before we get out of here. I do want to get an opportunity for you to be able to share when and where are your meetings, so that way people who are watching right now can have an opportunity to possibly find out more information or come by.
Okay, we are located at 35 Massey Place here in the Bronx, the Southwest Bronx. That's 2 blocks south of 170th Street, and it's at the corner of Walton Avenue and Massey Place. We have monthly workshops where we discuss tenants' rights, your rights as a rent stabilized tenants. The workshops also include your rights during the winter season, so you know what you should be getting, what when the temperature changes, what your indoor temperature should be. We run them through the process of calling 311 to register their complaints, um, mice infestation, bug infestation, cracks, leaks, any problems, mold, mildew, any problems they may be having. We walk them through the process of doing that. And we also ask them as community members, people who are feeling pain, what is it that is bothering you? And we will build training around that. We also have meetings where we have members on a campaign to reform the Rent Guidelines Board. The public is welcome to come and join us. We have a monthly open community meeting where the entire community is invited to come along, see what we're doing here, about what we're doing, make contact with us. We have campaigns about the Rent Justice Coalition, what it means, and how we, as the people who are being impacted, can affect the direction that these campaigns take. Because it is those of us who are feeling the pain will come up with that solution. We cannot divine what a solution is for other people. So when they come into our meetings, to the campaign meetings, to our workshops, to our teachings, that they learn that they can make a very important contribution to the direction that these events take. And they're going to be participating in it themselves.
That's
Part of it is to empower them. We give as much power as we can to our community members because the power is knowledge. Or I should say, knowledge is power. And with that power, they can move mountains.
yes.
You are a pastor, so I know that hits you right where you go every Sunday morning. That when you have power, you have that belief, and you come together as a community,
Indeed.
that you can do wonders. Yes, go ahead, sir.
No, indeed. Fitzroy, I got to leave it there, though. But I do want to thank you for taking the time and sharing with us. And so great having you here with us. And certainly you have a great day. And thank you for the work that you're doing with CASA in helping lives and helping those in the issue of tenanted housing and being that advocate. Thanks a lot so much for being with us.
And thank you also for having us here because what you're doing now is helping us to spread that awareness.
Yeah.
And out of this, I'm hoping that we could get a few people say, oh, I heard it in the social forum, and two, three, five more people will know. And then that spreads. Soon we have 100 from that five that you sent to us. We do appreciate it. We thank you very much. And we hope this is not going to be the last time I'm open to an invitation, even for a 1 hour dialogue, just talking about the whole issues and how it affects our children's education, not having a home base,
Yeah.
the lifetime issues that they face. Yeah, we're open for more invitations. So we
Definitely,
could be practicing
definitely.
that.
I'll have to send that up to my producer. That's above my head, but we'll make sure we get you in here and you come on back and talk to us a little bit more. Thank you so much, Fitzroy.
Okay.
Good to have you, brother.
And thank you very much, sir. And again, thanks to Social Forum for inviting us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. All right, we are going to take a quick break, but guess what? We'll be right back right after this.